All right, guys, welcome to another video. Today we're going to talk about armaments. So very recently, Lilith had a developer's feedback where they talked about plans to update the armament system, where it's going to be a lot easier to get special inscriptions. Actually, I don't know if it's going to be a lot easier. It's going to be easier, right? So we're going to cover that. But start out, let's actually kind of rewind a little bit, go over the armament system. This is going to be assuming that you at least have a basic understanding of it, so I don't get into every detail. Right, but essentially the history of the system, Lilith released it in January 2023. So right now we're towards the end of July. As of the making of this video, that system has been in the game for about a year and a half, a little more than that, right? Just looking around, talking to people, seeing what content creators and just other people are saying, I want to say in general, I feel like I like the system more than most people. And it's for a couple of reasons. One, I'm considered a younger player, right? At this point, I've been playing the game for about 2 years. And I was actually around when the system was first released, right? So I was spending not too much, right? I'm like a mid spender, but I've been spending sometimes a little bit more, sometimes a little bit less since the beginning. And because I was able to get into the system towards the beginning, if you actually see my armament set, so I'm running some marches with some armament sets. As a whole, the set is pretty competitive with even the top players. And then the second reason why I like it a lot is because if you consider the commander system, like one system, right, gold heads, if you consider the equipments, right, so awaken, iconic, crit, and all that, that's another system. And then the third system is armament system. The armament system, in my opinion, is a one where if you kind of understand the mathematics, probability, and you can consistently make the right choices, it allows you to get the biggest edge over other players, right? If it's just equipment, or like getting materials and blueprints, if someone's spending more than me and they have the same activity level, I'm not really going to be able to catch them in that way, right? Just because unless you make a big mistake, and it's kind of hard to make a big mistake in equipment, you're just going to progress at a certain rate depending on how much you're spending your activity level, right? But if someone isn't necessarily making the right play in armaments, right, I can actually start getting an edge on them in armaments. And like a analogy I would give is, imagine if someone is flipping a coin, heads or tails, right? And it's 50-50 and their goal is to get heads. If I'm actually able to say maybe move that edge that I have from 50% to say 55%, I have a 5% edge. Over time, that starts making a big difference. And that's one of the reasons why it kind of makes the armament system fun for me. The other one is I don't know, maybe it's a degenerate Asian gambler in me, but every time you're rolling, even if you make the right play, right, you still have to get lucky, right? So even if you're giving yourself a better shot than the other person, you could still get unlucky. That person could still get lucky and they can win, right? That's kind of like Texas Hold'em, right? There's always like a percentage, even if you have a dominant hand, right? Your chances of winning is like 90%. You still have a 10% chance of losing. And sometimes the other person will suck out on you, right? They'll get a card that they statistically or probability wise shouldn't have gotten. They'll actually end up beating you, right? But that doesn't mean that the play you made was wrong. It just means you were unlucky. So understanding that you made the right play and then just kind of let the chips fall where they may, I'm okay with making the right play and then not getting lucky. But I think a lot of people, when they're not really sure if they made the right play and then they get unlucky, they just feel like the system's really bad. At least that's my opinion on it, right? So having said all of that, if you look around, right, I made a few guides. A lot of other content creators have made guides. There is no one comprehensive guide out there, just because there's so many different moving parts depending on your spend, your activity level. With each kind of update with the armament system, the priority and how to actually go about it has also kind of changed, right? So I'll kind of walk you through the history to where we're at currently, and then I'll introduce what the developer talked about with this special inscription, and then kind of talk about my plans for how I'm going to approach this. And then, if you guys think it's a good plan, you could kind of copy that, right? So when the armament system was first released, right, every armament, it just comes out of the box however it comes out, right? So if you get something with a double inscription, but rainbow stats aren't relevant to what you want, you just kind of have to choose whether you're going to use it or not. And it wasn't until a few months later where they allowed you to start re-rolling, right? You started being able to get transmutation stones and you could re-roll it, which actually really made the system a lot better, in my opinion, right? Because now it's not just this painful thing where you could get some good inscriptions. but even if you don't get the stats, you could do the stats. So when the system first came out, inscriptions were important, but they're not necessarily as important, because if you ask me, would I rather have, say, like a double inscription like this with irrelevant stats, or would I rather have no inscription but a triple, like good triple stat armament? It really depended on the inscription or the stats, and then because you can't change it at all, right? You're just going to pick whatever you think is actually adding more value to your commander. Once they allowed you to start re-rolling the stats, it started swinging the value or what you want to focus on towards the inscription a lot more, because some inscriptions are mid, some are really good, and some are just straight up garbage, right? So even if you have good stats, if the inscriptions aren't good, it's really capping the upside of the armament. And if you get inscriptions that are good, even if the stats aren't good, you have the ability to re-roll it. The top end upside of the armament will always be determined by how good the inscription is, right? Once they started introducing the transmutation crystals, so if I wanted to transmute, let me actually find one where I'm out. Maybe I don't even have one that's out here. But once they started introducing the transmutation crystals, right? So right now I'm out. If I wanted to reset, they introduced this. That swung the value towards the inscriptions even more, because even if you ended up using up the 10 turns, right, you're getting 2 of these per KVK, it's almost guaranteed if you play long enough that you'll be able to re-roll this into good triple stats, and essentially the quality of everyone's armament started going up, right? Now, at the same time, once they actually started introducing the ability to re-roll, I started saving armaments like this. So for example, if you see this one, right, this is really good, because if the highest stat you could get is 3.5 and it's coming out of the box like this, if I can actually get an inscription and put it on here, this is already a really good place to start from. So for example, if I put a balance on here, right, I just need to roll, even if I get a 1.5 attack, this armament with a balance, which is a special inscription for the flag, will be really good, right? So I started saving things like this. If I go to, say, my arch, right, like this one, you only get a 3% chance to get all damage, and then 2% is the highest you can get, right? So this is universal. It could apply to cabs, infantry, or archers, right? So something like this is like a guaranteed save, because if you do get an inscription, all of a sudden you can make this one of the like top end armaments in the game, right? So that's where we were at before the developer's latest feedback. So let me pull this up again. I made a video a few videos ago, but let's just read through this so we can kind of catch up on what we're looking at next. Okay, so the third question was that the guarantee system for drawing armaments need work. Even when drawing an armament with guaranteed inscription, it is still possible that I'll get a special inscription I already own. It makes it very hard to acquire certain special inscription armaments. Essentially, it's just complaining that special inscriptions are really rare, and even if you get one, it could be in a slot where you don't need it, and it's just really frustrating, right? The rumor is that some of the biggest krakens of the game essentially petitioned Lilith and said they're not going to spend anymore if they don't fix the system, and then they caved, right? Regardless, I think it's going to be better for the game if they made the special inscription more versatile. It just, it's just less clunky, and you could get more. Right now, the argument for a lot of people will be, well, it's just going to put the krakens further ahead. Maybe, but the krakens are already pretty far ahead. If you open up the special inscription this way, people will at least be able to have some ability to customize and put special inscriptions in the slot they need. I think overall, allowing people to actually get their special inscriptions in the slot they choose would be a good thing. So let's actually go over what the developers actually answered. Right? So we're sorry that the armament guarantee mechanic hasn't met our governor's expectations. Based on the feedback we received in the community, we plan on making adjustments to the guaranteed special inscription system. The preliminary details of these adjustments are as follow, right? And the key word there is preliminary. If you guys remember, when they tried to roll out the new equipment system, and then there was a lot of negative feedback, and then they kind of talked to some content creators and people that quote unquote have more influence in the community, and they actually decided on a new system. It was a few months before they rolled it out again, right? So when they say preliminary details, these are the general basic ideas, but then who knows how long it's going to take for them to roll it out. And because I think it could take a while, right? Like I'm thinking maybe we won't see this for 3 months. If your armaments aren't in a pretty good place, I wouldn't suggest you employ the strategy that I'm about to suggest next. You just open the armaments as needed, because especially when you first get access to armaments, which I think is in KBK2, right? Like anything you get is going to be a big improvement. So if you actually start hoarding and saving in anticipation for these like special inscriptions, I think it's actually going to set your account back a lot, and it's just not worth it. All right, but let's actually go over this. So number one, they said the guaranteed system for rare inscriptions will remain unchanged. So right now, every 150 of these you open, if you don't get a rare or a special inscription, you're guaranteed to at least get a rare inscription or better every 150, right? So if you go over here, you could actually see, right? Like right now, I've opened 68 legendary armaments for Arch and haven't gotten a rare or better yet, right? So it's guaranteed that in the next 82, I'll receive at least a rare inscription. So that's not going to change. They're still going to release the rare inscription. Now, this is where they're preliminary. This is their idea. They're going to introduce a guarantee system for special inscriptions. The guarantee system for special inscriptions will be optimized when you receive a guarantee special inscription armament rather than the armament type being randomly determined. So now if you get a special, you'll actually be able to choose which type it is. So scroll, which is the top left, instrument, which is top right, emblem, bottom left, and then banner or flag is the bottom right, right? Once you've acquired a certain amount of rare inscriptions, armaments for a specific formation, you'll be able to select an armament type and receive a special inscription armament of that type for that formation. So when I first read this, I thought maybe they're just going to be like, hey, you know what? We're going to give you a inscription so you can actually pick anything and then inscribe it, right? Because if you look here, if I actually had an inscription, I can actually, if I own an inscription, I'll actually just be able to inscribe and just put it on there. But rereading this, right? So I'm going to read this again. You will be able to choose what armament type to receive. Once you've acquired a certain amount of rare inscription armaments for a single formation, you will be able to select an armament type and receive a special inscription armament of that type for that formation. So what this is saying is, instead of giving you an inscription to put onto something that you were saving, which is what I've been doing here, right? Like if I was able to put, say, like destructive on here, I already have 2 really good stats. I just need to roll the 3rd stat. But what it looks like as far as what they're writing is, they're just gonna, you could choose which type, right? You know, you'll get some random stats of it. It'll just be coming with a special inscription. That's actually worse for me, because then all of the saving will kind of go to waste. I'm still gonna save it just in case, you know, they give you the ability to get special inscriptions in the future. Because right now you could get it essentially for the scroll and the banner, right? The scroll is if you win KBK, you get an autarch. The banner is if you save up 8 of those shards from recycling 180 legendaries times 8, then you could actually get a flag. But maybe in the future they open it up, so it's still good for me to save really high upside armaments. Like this one either has 3.4 archer health or 3.4 attack, right? That's like a good place to start from. So I'm saving that. But they said that once you select it, the count will reset whenever you select a special inscription armament. Lastly, we'll be looking at every governor's armament acquisition history, and we'll send compensation sometime after this optimization is launched. The specifics of this compensation are TBD. So what they're saying is they'll actually kind of backtrack. So if you got a lot of rare, but you have no special, which is me. So let's actually take a look at my rare inscriptions, right? So far I have received 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 rare inscriptions without a special. My only special is actually a balance. I collected 8 shards and traded it in. I haven't won an autarch, right? So I've also been really lucky, because there's people I know that have like gotten pulled 3 and I have pulled 0, right? If I had to take a guess, I'm gonna guess for every 10 of these that you didn't get a special, they're gonna give you 1 special, right? So every 10 rares, you're gonna get 1 special. I think I ended up like recycling 2 of these. Some of these are better than others. So even though I only have 9 here, I think I actually got 11. Now the problem with this is, if you look here, right, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I've gotten 6 rares for wedge, 2 for arch, and then 1 for V formation. And based on the way they wrote this up, it seems like it all has to be for one formation type for it to count, right? And if I had to take a guess, I'm gonna guess it's going to be every 10 rares that you haven't gotten a special, they're going to give you a pity special, right? So I actually wouldn't even qualify for this. Maybe I'm wrong. I would actually be surprised, because then that would make it a lot easier to get the special. I think they still want to kind of gatekeep that and make it harder to get, right? So I'm actually thinking if they did actually have a compensation system, like kind of backtracks what you got, I'm going to guess that I haven't actually received anything. Regardless, you can see right now I have like 30 gold chests saved. I'm not going to spend any of my gold chests, but I am going to open all of my purples so I can still accumulate transmutation stones, just because every week we can only get 30. So if I just start saving everything now, right, like even every week I can only open 30 transmutation stones. I don't want to actually be capped every week by that. So I'm still kind of like accumulating transmutation stones. But in general, my armaments are actually in a good enough place where I don't feel like I really need to open everything. I'll actually pull out my armaments so I can show you. But the strategy right now is save up all of my legendary, open everything else to get the transmutation stones. Because I don't have a legendary anyways, I don't have a special inscription anyways. Honestly, like any special inscription I pull will still be a positive, right? So if I end up pulling a special inscription from a non-legendary chest, it's a huge win. I'll take it. If you're pulling one of these, the chances of getting a special inscription from one of these is 0.08%, or another way to think about it is 1 in about 1,215 pulls. Right, so the chances are very, very low. So if I end up pulling one, I'll clearly take it. But let's actually go over the special inscriptions, because they're not all created equal. Some are much better than others. So let's actually take a look at this. All right. And in the meantime, let me pull up my armaments. Okay. So I think the ones that people care about the most is either the arch or the wedge, right? Out of those two formations, I think clearly the best one, or at least 1A and 1B, would be the emblem. Okay, so for the arch emblem, it's going to be fearless. You get 8% boost to normal damage dealt. Seawell discovered this a few months ago now, right? When you say boost, it's actually way better than increase, because this is multiplicative. So after all the normal damage increase is added, it's going to multiply that by 1.08, or like 108%, right? So this is actually a lot more powerful than, say, if you're getting a 8% normal damage increase, because that's just going to be added, right, onto all the other normal damage increase. Whereas this is going to take all the increase that's already been added and then multiply that by another 108%, which makes it a lot better. And the same thing, I think Intrepid is probably the best one, in my opinion, for wedge, right? Second best one, or you can make an argument that's the best one, is going to be the instrument. So for the arch, it's going to be straight to the point, right? And then for wedge, it's going to be unstoppable. Now, the other two, which, funny enough, is actually the ones that are easier to access, right? So destructive on the scroll, and then invincible on the banner are, to me, clearly worse than what's on the instrument and the emblem. And then like Hunter is okay. I want to say it's kind of comparable, at least into the range. And then Balance, in my opinion, is probably the worst one out of these 4. Doesn't mean it's not good. It's still really, really good. But compared to, say, something like Intrepid, where I talked about that boost earlier, you're just getting a 10% boost. The main part of this, you're increasing normal damage resistance by 3.5%, right? And it's normal damage, not even skill damage. So you can resist smite damage, but any kind of big skill damage hits you, you're not resisting that. And then essentially your primary commander here is going to get 8% more skill damage. Like, it's good, right? It's still better than anything else, like in these inscriptions, but it's not like something like Intrepid. Okay, so If you did get a special inscription, you could choose, I think automatically you want to choose emblem, just because right now that will be the only way you can get an emblem anyways, right? Because if you win an Autark, you get the scroll, you collect 8 shards, even though it takes a long time. It took me about a year and like 3 months to get my first balance, right? So even now, even though now they're increasing the rate in which you're getting this stuff, you could get a little bit faster. It's not like whatever you're getting for the banner is that easy to get anyways. But if you had to choose, I think you should choose emblem first, and then second you want to choose an instrument, so straight to the point, and then unstoppable, right? Those would be the 2 priority for me if you are going to choose, and they're clearly a cut above what's on the scroll and the banner. Now let's actually pull up my armaments and what I'm going to do. So we'll pull this up here. Right now this is my armament set, right? So you can see all of these doesn't have any relevant stats. Also have at least 1 inscription on each slot. Sometimes it's a double, some are rares, right? The only one where I would reroll is actually my siege. Right now, my bottom right, the banner has 2 out of the 3 siege stats, right? And Desperado is actually not that good, but I just wanted to get an inscription there. Eventually, maybe I'll, you know, put whatever the special inscription on here and overwrite the Desperado. But I really don't want to open a bunch of V formation, so I would rather just get rid of this stat because that's still a decent improvement, and then just kind of stop there until what happens. In the meantime, I'm not going to open any of my legendary chests, right? I'll just kind of build that up just because I want to see if I do get refunded or compensated for any specials, because if I do get compensated for specials, after that has been done, then I could start you know, deciding whether I want to maybe inscribe a high upside armament that I have from opening up a bunch of those shards, or what to do, right? But really, I don't really need to roll it right now, so I would rather actually just sit back, accumulate transmutation stones. Hopefully it's not 3 months, hopefully it's a lot sooner, but actually see if I could get a special inscription compensated for me. If not, my plan right now is actually to open Arch, even though you know, it'll probably take a lot longer for me to get that special, right? Because if I show you this earlier, based on the rare inscriptions I have, right, I only have 11 or 9. Oh, wait, 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 here. I think I actually opened 11, right? So I think I recycled 2 wedges, right? So 1 2 3 4 5 6, and if I recycle 2 wedges, that's 8. I'm 2 away, but in my opinion, I think Arch is actually going to become more and more valuable. So I've been actually opening Arch only. I'm pretty much done with my wedge anyways, unless I could get a special inscription. So right now I'm just saving up these legendary choice chests, waiting for them to actually release a system, and then I'm going to open all of this. In the meantime, I want to save up all the transmutation stones I can, just because if I do, say, get compensated with a special inscription, I pick Intrepid, right? I want enough transmutation stones to actually roll that and then replace it. All right, so this, in my opinion, is only if your armaments are in a good enough place, right? If you're still working on it, where you know, you don't really have inscriptions in each slot, I wouldn't save anything. I would just go about your business as normal because anything you get will be a big improvement, right? And it's kind of saving for this pity system that you probably wouldn't even qualify for, in my opinion, just isn't worth it. Okay. Again, this armament system is actually fun if you understand how to go about it mathematically. They're just things that you can do to kind of give yourself the best advantage. You know, I've released a lot of videos talking about the math, and you know, there's been enough videos when I'm mentoring now, like going over it. So you do have questions, you can refer to that. All of those are free, obviously, but that's kind of my plan as far as armaments. And one last thing, if you are newer to armaments, right? So you just got to KVK 2 or KVK 3, and your armaments aren't in a good place, and you are a spender, I would actually recommend spending on armaments, because this is something where as it gets better and better, your chances of improving, and then even the improvement you do get, becomes less and less, right? If your armaments are already pretty good, to actually get that better, it's going to be harder. But if your armaments, you're brand new to armaments, are not really good, any amount of spending you actually put into armaments, you're going to get the biggest upgrades, right? Relative to maybe like what you're doing to your equipment, you'll actually get a much bigger improvement and upgrade spending that money in armaments. So for the newer players that are newer to armaments, if your armaments are good, I actually recommend, like, if you are spending, put your money towards armaments until you get it to a pretty good place. Because once in a pretty good place, then you can kind of coast and you might save the gold, the formation choice chest or whatever. But if they're not, definitely don't save it. And I would actually encourage you to spend a little bit if you are spending, so you can actually at least catch that up pretty quick. Like, you're gonna have a huge advantage over people that aren't spending on armaments when you first get access to them, if you are spending and they're not, right? So if you watch all the way to the end yet, you haven't, please like and subscribe to the video. Really helps out. Again, thank you for watching, and I'll talk to you guys next time.